Well, in a way, we're trying to rediscover what Swedish conservatism is. One can say, at least, that what has really rejuvenated Swedish conservatism, the impulse which has made it relevant again, is an opposition to uncontrolled immigration, which has been the dominant political issue in Sweden for now at least 15 years. There are many different kinds of negative effects of uncontrolled third world mass immigration. One obvious is crime. Today we have gangsterism in Sweden like interwar Chicago. We have as many bombings per capita as in Mexico. In Swedish media was that if you opposed immigration on any ground, that means you're a racist. Even if you said that there might be some potential downside, you're a racist. Swedish public debate is like a school of fish, right? Yeah. So everyone changes position at the same time. So now everyone is kind of opposed to this. But up until 2015, this was, and that's why the Sweden Democrats grew so much. They had a monopoly on saying that immigration could possibly be a bad thing. Now you have like 5 parties who say that bad or, not too good. So there's far more competition in that way. I saw some data from The Economist today. This was not from Sweden, it was from Denmark, but should be pretty much the same, where they had looked at the fiscal effects of immigration from different parts of the world. But the average effect from an immigrant from the Middle East and North Africa was that they were a fiscal burden throughout their life, even, and this is important, even in their prime working age. So Swedes have, I think, a much harder way grappling with and understanding Islam than people would do have in the US or in Poland, where people actually still believe in God. For Swedes, Islam is just some superficial thing. It's like, they don't drink alcohol, but maybe there are Swedes who don't drink alcohol either. The fact that people would actually care deeply about religion is an alien idea to many Swedes. People didn't imagine at all that we would have a large number of mosques in Sweden, or maybe it would be a temporary thing because Muslims should stop being Muslims, because why would they be Muslims?
So the expectation was these Muslim migrants would leave their religion behind and become truly Swedish.
Yeah, I imagine so. Gangs. These are, I wouldn't say 100% immigrants or the children of immigrants, but maybe 95, 99, 98%, something like that. Now, this doesn't mean that indigenous Swedes never commit any crimes at all. They certainly do. Many crimes, especially violent crime, sexual crime, there is a very strong overrepresentation among certain immigrant groups. I would say that people who commit less crimes are, for example, Vietnamese immigrants, Southeast Asian ones, Thai, certainly Japanese, Chinese, while you have very strong overrepresentation when we're talking about groups from the Middle East, North Africa. 25 years, so we've had about 2 million immigrants come to Sweden. If these had been 2 million Norwegians, we wouldn't have this discussion today. This idea from the 60s, right? Like, we should have a lot of foreign aid, we should care about the third world, but we should care about Nicaragua, and we should care about Somalia, and we should care, all these countries far away.
Why?
Well, because that was virtuous. They used to say that Sweden is a humanitarian superpower. And there was this idea that, Sweden, after World War II, Sweden together with Switzerland and the US, Sweden was the richest country in the world. And we had this idea, this feeling that we're actually better than other people. We're rich, we're the best, we have the most progressive, most modern society, we're the model for the world. And the fact that we were rich because we had stayed out of World War II and didn't have our industries bombed into dust and could profit from rebuilding all the rest of Europe, people didn't want to think about that part. But this meant that we were the best and most virtuous people in the world, the model for the world. Everyone should be like us. We got this idea that Swedishness is not a particular culture. It's not having a common history, a specific language, or anything like that. No, it means being modern. And Sweden was the most modern country in the world. And if you immigrate to Sweden from another country, as soon as you pass the border, you cross the border, you become Swedish. There's an American saying, if you find yourself in a hole, the first thing you do is stop digging, right? The current right-wing government is very anti-immigration, right? The main force of the Swedish left, the Social Democrats, they're moving in that direction as well. And they're surrounded by a large native population. They will be absorbed somehow. But if the immigrants become too many, then they might very well stay unassimilated in their own communities.
And they're the majority.
Yeah, in certain areas, in certain communities, they're definitely the majority, especially because of segregation. There is one important thing, and that is the changes we see in Swedish politics today. They are the biggest changes in Swedish politics for a century. They're the biggest changes in our political structure since Sweden became a full democracy. When I talk to foreign conservative friends about the changes in Sweden, they often believe this, because it's one thing when you have the right ruling in Poland or in the US or in Slovenia.
Sure.
It's something else entirely when Sweden, the supposed progressive socialist paradise, turns to the right or even the hard right. Then people really say, wait, what's going on? Is Sweden perhaps the canary in the coal mine?